The desert sun beat down, turning the very air into a shimmering mirage. Yet within the Israelite camp, a buzz of anticipation, mixed with a healthy dose of awe, filled the air. 40 years after escaping Egypt, Moses, now a weathered leader, stood before the tabernacle, God's very presence hovering within. "Take a census," the Lord commanded, "of all the men 20 years old or more, those able to serve in the army." Imagine the scene: scribes with papyrus and ink, meticulously counting each able-bodied man, tribe by tribe. Reuben, Simeon, Gad, each numbered, their mighty thousands recorded. Judah, the largest, boasted 74,600, a formidable sight. Issachar, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Benjamin, Dan, Asher, Naphtali, the numbers climbed. A grand total of 603,550 fighting men. This wasn't just a head count. It was an organization, a preparation for the promised land. A testament to God's faithfulness in multiplying his people. Each tribe was assigned its place around the tabernacle, a divinely ordained encampment, ready to march at a moment's notice. The cloud by day and fire by night their unwavering guide. But amidst this grand enumeration, one tribe was notably absent from the military count. Levi did not count the tribe of Levi. The Lord had instructed Moses, nor take a census of them among the Israelites. Their purpose was different, holier. They were the guardians of the tabernacle, its vessels, its sacred duties. Imagine the Levites, instead of swords, carrying the poles of the ark, disassembling the holy dwelling with practiced reverence, transporting its sacred components, and reassembling it with meticulous care. They were divided into 3 families: Gershonites, Kohathites, and Merarites, each with specific responsibilities for the tabernacle's components, from curtains to boards. Their encampment was unique too, directly around the tabernacle, separating the holy from the profane. Any outsider who approached the sanctuary without authorization would face death. A stark reminder of God's holiness and the seriousness of their assigned duties. Even their own firstborn, traditionally consecrated to God, were now redeemed by the Levites, signifying a deeper, communal dedication. The Levites, numbering 22,000 from a month old and upward, effectively took the place of all the firstborn of Israel. A substitution demonstrating God's meticulous care for his sanctuary and his chosen people. The desert, once a place of aimless wandering, was now a disciplined camp, a mobile sanctuary, ready for God's next command. The desert sun beat down on the Israelite camp, a vast sea of tents, stretching as far as the eye could see. Moses, with Aaron and the elders, stood before the tabernacle, the very heart of their nomadic existence. It was time for order, for a precise understanding of who was to do what in this divine mobile sanctuary. First came the meticulous accounting of the Kohathites. These Levites, specifically the sons of Kohath, were given the most sacred and daunting task: moving the holiest articles of the tabernacle, the Ark of the Covenant, the table of the showbread, the menorah, the altars. But their work was fraught with danger. They were not to touch the holy objects directly, only carry them once the priests had carefully covered them. One wrong move, one curious glance at the uncovered ark, and death would follow. Their strong shoulders were to bear the weight of God's presence, but always with reverence and fear. Next, the Gershonites were counted. Their duty was less perilous but no less vital, transporting the curtains, the coverings, the screens, and the cords of the tabernacle. They were the textile specialists, ensuring the beautiful but weighty fabrics of the sacred dwelling were carefully packed and moved. Finally, the Merarites, the third clan of Levites, were assigned the heavy lifting of the framework, the planks, bars, pillars, and bases. Their task was the foundation, the bones of the tabernacle. Each family, each clan, had its specific, weighty responsibility, all contributing to the whole, all essential for the presence of God to travel with his people. As the days turned into weeks, the camp underwent further purification. God, ever holy, demanded a holy people. Laws were laid down for dealing with sin and uncleanness. If someone wronged another and then felt remorse, they were to confess and make full restitution, adding a fifth to the amount owed. This wasn't just about financial repayment. It was about repairing broken relationships and restoring integrity within the community. Then came the startling, almost unsettling, law of jealousy. If a man suspected his wife of infidelity, and there was no witness, a specific ritual was prescribed. The woman would be brought before the priest. A bitter water prepared with dust from the tabernacle floor would be given to her to drink, and curses invoked. It was a stark, divinely sanctioned test, a harrowing ordeal designed to either confirm innocence or reveal guilt, aimed at maintaining purity and trust within the foundational unit of society, the family. Finally, the unique and profound vow of the Nazirite was introduced. This was a voluntary commitment, a personal consecration to God for a set period. A Nazirite was to abstain from wine and strong drink, avoid cutting their hair, and keep themselves free from all defilement, especially contact with a dead body. It was a radical, visual sign of devotion, a way for any man or woman to draw closer to God through self-denial and holiness, culminating in an offering at the tabernacle. It was a personal pilgrimage of piety within the communal journey. The air in the camp, though often dusty, felt charged with divine order and expectation. From the meticulous moving of the tabernacle to the personal vows of holiness, every aspect of Israelite life was being shaped by the presence of a holy God who demanded order, purity, and devotion from his chosen people. The air in the desert camp thrummed with excitement, for the tabernacle, God's dwelling place, was finally consecrated. The princes of Israel, one from each tribe, approached with their offerings 6 covered carts and 12 oxen, a generous gift for the Levite service. For 12 glorious days, a parade of devotion unfolded. Each day, a different tribal leader stepped forward, bringing a silver plate and basin, filled with fine flour mixed with oil for a grain offering, a gold pan laden with incense, and a rich array of animals for burnt, sin, and peace offerings. Nashon, Netano, Eliab, the names echoed. Each prince's sacrifice equally valued and accepted by God, culminating in a grand total of precious metals and countless animals. Then came the lamps, 7 golden lights placed in the tent of meeting, casting their glow just as the Lord had instructed Aaron. And finally, the Passover, observed in the desert, a poignant reminder of their deliverance from Egypt. For those impure or on a journey, a second chance was given a month later, demonstrating God's mercy. As the people moved, so did the divine presence, a cloud by day, a fire by night, guiding their every step, settling when they were to rest, lifting when they were to journey. In the vast wilderness, the Israelites, encamped at Sinai, heard the piercing call of silver trumpets, signaling their departure as God's cloud lifted. Moses, ever reliant on divine guidance, persuaded his father-in-law Hobab to join, promising God's favor. The tribes, meticulously organized, followed the Ark of the Covenant, moving in harmony under God's direction. But in chapter 11, discontent festered. The people, tiring of manna, craved meat, provoking God's wrath. Fire erupted, consuming some, until Moses' fervent prayer quelled it. Still, their complaints continued, and God sent quail in abundance, but with it, a plague struck the greedy, a stark lesson in gratitude. In chapter 12, at Hazeroth, jealousy stirred as Miriam and Aaron questioned Moses' unique authority, resenting his Cushite wife. God swiftly intervened, declaring Moses' unparalleled closeness to him. Miriam, struck with leprosy, faced divine judgment. Yet Moses, in profound humility, interceded for her healing. After 7 days of isolation, Miriam was restored, and the journey continued. Through rebellion and envy, Moses' steadfast faith and God's unwavering guidance shaped a people for his eternal purpose. The scorching sun bore down on the Israelite camp in the wilderness of Paran. From every tribe, 12 men, strong and discerning, were chosen to spy out Canaan, the land promised by God. For 40 days, they traversed the land, observing its inhabitants, its formidable cities, and its rich produce. They returned, carrying a colossal cluster of grapes, a testament to Canaan's fertility. 10 of the spies, however, brought back a chilling report. "The people are giants," they whispered, "their cities are fortified, insurmountable." Fear gripped the camp, and the people wept through the night, murmuring against Moses and Aaron, even yearning for a return to Egypt. Only Caleb and Joshua stood firm, their voices ringing with faith. "The land is exceedingly good. If the Lord delights in us, he will bring us into it." But the congregation threatened to stone them. God's anger flared. He declared that this faithless generation, save Caleb and Joshua, would perish in the wilderness, wandering for 40 years, a year for each day of their spying. Despite this pronouncement, some, in misguided defiance, attempted to invade Canaan, only to be routed by the Amalekites and Canaanites. Amidst the despair, God reiterated laws concerning offerings, tithes, and purification, emphasizing his enduring covenant. He even provided a specific command for tassels on their garments, a constant reminder to obey his commandments and be holy. Discontent, like a hidden fire, smoldered beneath the surface of the Israelite camp. Korah, a respected Levite, chafed under Aaron's priestly authority, believing himself equally worthy. He gathered a formidable alliance, Dathan and Abiram, Reubenites, who resented Moses' leadership, and 250 prominent men. They confronted Moses and Aaron, accusing them of exalting themselves above the Lord's assembly. Moses, heartbroken by their rebellion, challenged them to a divine test, each man to present his censer with incense before the Lord. The next morning, as the earth groaned and split open, Dathan and Abiram, and their households, with all their possessions, plunged into the chasm, swallowed whole. Fire then blazed forth from the Lord, consuming Korah and his 250 co-conspirators who stood with their censers. Yet, even after such terrifying judgment, the people murmured again, accusing Moses and Aaron of killing the Lord's people. A devastating plague erupted, swiftly claiming thousands. Aaron, at Moses' command, quickly took his censer and stood between the living and the dead, making atonement until the plague ceased, a selfless act saving many lives. To definitively settle the priesthood, God commanded each tribal leader to bring his staff, with Aaron's name on his staff. The next morning, only Aaron's staff had budded, blossomed, and produced almonds, a miraculous sign confirming his divine appointment. This staff was then placed in the Ark of the Covenant as a perpetual witness. God further delineated the responsibilities and provisions for the Levites and priests, ensuring the sanctity and order of his tabernacle. The desert wind whispered tales of past trials as the Israelites continued their long journey. To cleanse those defiled by death, God provided a unique ritual, the ashes of a flawless red heifer, mixed with water, for purification. Soon after, sadness descended upon the camp as Miriam, Moses' sister, died and was buried in Kadesh. Thirsty and desperate, the people again grumbled against Moses and Aaron. God commanded Moses to speak to a rock for water. But in a moment of frustration, Moses struck it twice with his staff. Water gushed forth, but for his disobedience, God declared Moses would not lead them into the promised land. As they sought passage through Edom, their request was harshly refused, forcing a long, arduous detour. On Mount Hor, Aaron, stripped of his priestly garments, which were placed on his son Eleazar, died, a poignant end to a devoted servant. The journey then led them around Edom, and the people, once more, grew impatient and spoke against God and Moses. In response, fiery serpents plagued the camp, biting and killing many. Moses interceded, and God commanded him to make a bronze serpent and set it on a pole. Anyone bitten who looked at the bronze serpent would live, a symbol of salvation through obedience. Finally, as they continued, they faced and defeated the Amorites and the king of Bashan, securing new territory on the way to Moab. As the Israelites neared Moab, King Balak grew fearful. He summoned Balaam, a renowned prophet, to curse them. Balaam, however, was warned by God through his speaking donkey, not to curse Israel. 3 times Balak took Balaam to different vantage points, urging him to utter a curse. Yet, each time, under divine inspiration, Balaam blessed Israel instead, prophesying their greatness and prosperity. His final prophecy even foretold of a star rising from Jacob, a ruler who would crush Moab. Frustrated and enraged, Balak sent Balaam away. Despite Balak's persistent efforts to manipulate the divine will, God's steadfast protection and blessing upon Israel prevailed, turning intended curses into powerful declarations of favor. The Israelites, encamped in Shittim, fell into grave sin. Lured by Moabite women to worship Baal of Peor, a devastating plague erupted, claiming thousands. Phinehas, filled with righteous zeal, boldly intervened, spearing an Israelite man and a Midianite woman, halting the plague and earning an eternal covenant of peace for his faithfulness. Following this tragedy, a new census was conducted, numbering all men 20 years and older, preparing for the division of the promised land among the tribes. Yet, among those counted, a unique case arose: the daughters of Zelophehad, whose father had died without sons. They bravely approached Moses, pleading for their inheritance. God, hearing their just petition, ruled in their favor, establishing a new law of inheritance for daughters. Finally, with Moses' passing imminent, God commanded him to appoint Joshua as his successor, transferring leadership and authority to him before all the congregation. As the Israelites stood on the cusp of the Promised Land, God, through Moses, meticulously laid out a divine calendar of offerings, day by day, week by week, month by month, and throughout the annual festivals, like Passover, weeks, and tabernacles, specific burnt offerings, grain offerings, and drink offerings were commanded. This wasn't just ritual, it was a constant, fragrant reminder of their covenant with the Most High, a rhythm of worship designed to permeate their daily and yearly lives in the land they would soon inhabit. Beyond the communal sacrifices, God also addressed personal commitments, the making of vows. A man's vow was binding, a solemn promise to the Lord. For women, however, there were nuanced provisions. A father or husband held the authority to nullify a daughter's or wife's vow, but only if they did so immediately upon hearing it. Silence implied consent, making the vow binding. These laws underscored the sanctity of one's word before God and the structured authority within Israelite families. The plains of Moab buzzed with anticipation. After God's command, Moses led the Israelites to war against the Midianites, avenging their treachery. The battle was swift and decisive. Every male was slain, and their cities burned. But Moses, angered by the sparing of women who had led Israel astray, ordered a further purge, saving only the young virgins. The spoils of war, vast flocks, herds, and gold were divided among the warriors, the congregation, and a portion set aside for the Lord. Following this, Moses, guided by divine instruction, prepared for the crossing of the Jordan. The tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh, rich in livestock, sought to settle east of the Jordan. Moses granted their request, but only after they pledged to join their brethren in conquering Canaan. As preparations for entry into the Promised Land continued, God meticulously outlined the boundaries of their inheritance and appointed leaders for each tribe. Finally, after 40 years of wandering, the Israelites broke camp from the plains of Moab, poised to cross into the land promised to their ancestors. As the Israelites stood on the cusp of Canaan, divine instructions continued to shape their future. God meticulously outlined the precise borders of the Promised Land, detailing its expanse from the Great Sea to the Dead Sea, ensuring no dispute over their inheritance. Moses then appointed a leader from each tribe, a prince, to oversee the equitable distribution of this vast territory. Next, a crucial matter of justice arose. For the Levites, who received no tribal inheritance, 48 cities were designated throughout Canaan, complete with pasture lands. 6 of these were specially appointed as cities of refuge, havens for anyone who accidentally killed another. This established a critical legal framework, protecting the innocent from vengeful kin while ensuring intentional murderers faced justice outside these safe havens. Finally, a concern emerged regarding the inheritance of daughters. The daughters of Zelophehad, having inherited their father's land due to the absence of sons, posed a potential tribal boundary issue if they married outside their clan. A law was swiftly established. Female inheritors of land must marry within their ancestral tribe to prevent the dilution or transfer of tribal land, preserving the integrity of the inheritance. Thus, with clear boundaries, cities of justice, and protected inheritances, Israel was ready to enter their promised home.
Subscribe.